Jeepers Creepers. Yes, the creeper comes out from his 30-year or 50-year or however long of a hibernation that thing was supposed to have taken. I don't know the details. I never saw the movie, so I'm just making a passing comment as to somewhat explain my extremely long absence, which is still not officially over. I'm just still working some things out, and I'm not going to go into any explanation or try to eat up any time with this, but just to reassure everybody, if anybody even cares anymore, that I haven't exactly vanished off the face of the earth. I still do kind of creep around from time to time. I have a few regular subscriptions that I still pretty much hold on to, which I come in to check from time to time, plus occasional issues that I try to do additional research or investigation on that might lead me somewhere. But the thing of the matter is, even though I don't interact on the social interactive level anymore, I'm still around, I'm still out there. I'm still in an extremely long hiatus before I even thinking about putting anything up on a regular basis. But out of everything that's been happening between all of this time, I've found it, well, not really difficult because, as I said, I'm kind of jaded. So it takes a lot to really push me into going all. Because, as I said, when this thing was actually somewhat enjoyable to use at one point in its existence, it wouldn't take too much for me to actually go out there, share some of my thoughts and opinions and views about certain things and contribute to the discussion, whatever. But since YouTube has become the absolute disaster of a site to use for that purpose anymore, I just find it easier to just keep my opinions to myself, which typically, what can I contribute anyway that either doesn't get shot down or completely ignored anyway. And by shot down, I mean attacked relentlessly. I don't mean shot down as in my points of argument got shot down, because they never did, and they never could, and they, according to the way that I see things and the way that I analyze things, probably never will, except in the extreme rarest of instances. So I just decided, okay, it's no big deal. I'm not missing out on anything. Nobody's missing out on anything by not really wondering what's the general's position on this whole thing, and let's get his perspective on it. So I was more than happy to just let the things ride out the way that they ride out without me, and I formulate my own opinions that way. But out of all this time of looking and checking and following certain trends and whatnot, it just took this one issue to finally make me just want to interject something on some level. And it's not because I feel like I have an opinion or an epiphany or something that'll really explain this whole breakdown or anything, because everybody else, for the most part, seem to be handling this discussion pretty well. And whatever points need to be made, whatever counterpoints are being made that need to be countered back, whatever, that seems to be going fine and well without me. I don't have any real issues or disputes with those back and forth arguments, other than to be like the referee and determining, okay, this side's more correct, that side's more correct, this side's full of BS, that side's full of BS. But because of this issue, I had to jump back in because there seems to be, for the most part, a common thread that seems to gain support from both sides or all sides of this issue. And that's what I wanted to address. Not the argument and the bickering back and forth as to who's right, who's wrong, blah, 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 but something that's a lot more telling and a lot more revealing about how disingenuous we truly are as people. And it's something that I've always expressed, which is why I explained a long time ago that this is what puts me in the crosshairs of every camp. I'm literally surrounded by people who have targets painted on me, because the simple fact of the matter is I take a step out, objective, not choosing to play one side or the other side. I just listen to the information, I tabulate the facts as they're presented or the opinions as they're presented, and I tally the scores and I determine what's truth and what's untruth. And why the rest of the world is not that way, I don't know, but if we could get to that point, 90% of our problems as a species would eliminate overnight. But here's just another prime example of that, and it relates to this recent issue with this person whom I've heard of previously. Sergeant Willie Pete would speak on her on a almost routine basis. Her name is Christelyn Karazin, assuming, of course, that's her real name. But regardless of her identity or her label or whatever, we pretty much know who we're referring to, and we know the issue that she stands on. I never gave much of an audience or an opinion regarding this woman because, quite really, she wasn't really discussing much of anything that I felt a need to interject on, even though there is a lot of tension that arises from the opinions that she holds and from the agenda that she promotes. Again, as I was trying to explain, was that other people seem to be doing a much better job of handling that type of BS. So it wasn't anything that I would pursue for myself as far as trying to add my own 2 cents or put a different spin on things. So I was aware of her, never really followed her, kind of got a sense of who and what she was. In fact, I don't even believe that I even listened to any of her commentary until just these past few days ago when, as I said, I do keep track of a small handful of regulars that I still come in and check up on every once in a while. And in this instance, I was pulling up one of Soul and Black's videos, and it talked about how Christelyn Karazin gets introduced to the wall of silence. And I'm like, okay, well, there are two concepts I understand. I understand the wall of silence and have more or less been sort of a promoter of that, as evidenced, of course, by the fact that I've pretty much shut down all discussion of the whole issue ever since I last made mention of and said that there was really nothing more that I could interject on this whole thing because anything that I felt needed to be said has already been said. And I would just start sounding like a broken record over and over again, just repeating the same old tired, well, in a way, tired. Okay, I'll grant it that because after a while it does get tired. When it's just constantly the same points over and over again, over and over, and just based on the fact that no matter how many times you say it, no matter how many different ways you say it, no matter which order you put it in, the people who are not going to respect your insights or your tendency to try to get them to apply something that's going to be better for them to help them out of a pickle that they find themselves in. If they don't respect you, and if they don't respect your opinions, and if they don't respect the fact that you actually are trying to help them, and if they don't respect that what you're offering them will give them the actual effective tools in order to make the necessary changes that they keep claiming that they want to be made, then it's a waste of time and energy. And it's just, okay, show's over, roll end credits, Elvis has left the building, go home. So that's why I just decided never to continue trying to state anything about that. But where it comes to whether or not I still support some of the issues or I can get behind some of the arguments, that's not going to change. It's just that I'm not going to keep bringing up the fact that, hey, I support this, or keep moving on and keep spelling. It's like, okay, I'm there in spirit. I'm just not going to be an active participant. That's how I'm rolling right now. So, seeing that the issue was about more about the wall of silence, I'm like, okay, I've been there, I've done that, and I still support the whole agenda. So, that's something that speaks to me. But let me see how it relates to this Christelyn Karazin person. I can kind of see that how they might connect overall because of understanding a little bit about who Christelyn Karazin was, or at least how she was described and critiqued by people like Sergeant Willie Pete. So I'm like, okay, there's a connection here. I don't know what the details of the connection are. So out of curiosity, let me go ahead and click in and see what Soul is talking about. And here's this poor, pitiful woman up there crying the blues, talking about how black men and how white men or how no men are coming out to defend black women. And of course, I'm thinking, well, duh. But what struck me more so, which made me at least show a little spark of compassion at first. Let's clear that up out of the way right now, because we're going to be going in a different direction with this very shortly. But when she started, and genuine tears. I mean, I've learned how to recognize crocodile tears, and these were genuine tears. However, something just kept telling me that when she was saying that these tears that she was crying was for the overall black sisterhood, and that she was crying an apology for how she was making their lives more miserable, this was the moment my BS detector went off. I just like, okay, she's trying to run some kind of game on people's emotions here, trying to make it seem like she's so altruistic that she's not concerned about her own personal feelings in this matter, that she's concerned about how the sisterhood is going to be dumped upon, and now how all this ammunition has been thrown out there for these white racists, and I'm sorry for putting you sisters through all this mess because I didn't realize. I'm like, cut the crap. As I said, I recognize not crocodile tears, but I also recognize crocodile BS. That explanation was nothing but crocodile BS. So this was something that was coming from within herself personally. She was personally affected by what she was claiming that had transpired as a result of this. What do they call these things? Meetups or meet and greets? I don't know. Like I said, I don't keep up with that garbage anymore. Ever since YouTube screwed up with everything that made YouTube great, I stopped figuring out what the hell they're doing with this service outside of just being able to pull up a video every now and again, get some instructions from somebody's instructional video, or just to find out what the zeitgeist is at the time in certain areas. But I don't mess with this site. I don't care to know how it operates. I don't care about all the little perks and tweaks and all these other little things that you do with it. So whatever happens with this site, I'm blind and oblivious to it. So apparently, based upon the way things were discussed, HooTube slash Goo has some kind of a, I don't know, like group meet type of, I don't know if it's like Skype or what the deal is, but I just know that they had some kind of little meeting where she met up with this supposed white racist black woman basher who calls himself the Veganator. And she's whining and just bursting the floodgates of tears open as to how she felt so disrespected, and how she just gave another white racist all this ammunition to be a black woman basher. And I'm like, she's running this whole black woman basher thing way too hard and way too eagerly against this, what I guess she suspected was going to be a white knight, or I don't know what her real agenda was in this whole mess. But I kind of got to figuring it out a little bit as I started putting pieces of the puzzle together. But that was it. I actually had to go back and put the pieces of the actual puzzle together, because it's one thing to listen to somebody crying and boohooing and complaining and telling you this is what happened and this is what the result of it was and this was the agenda behind it all, and then run with that ball without getting the first bits of factual evidence or any kind of information to support or reject that position that's being presented. So, being the good little information toady that I am, I decided to say, wait a minute, this is not sounding on the up and up. She's making it sound way too one-sided, number one, and number two, she's making it seem like it's just so terrible and so horrible that even the black men that she disses and talks about like dirt won't even come in on it. I mean, this has got to be some evil, brutish crap that, I mean, if she has to appeal to the black men that she herself does not even respect, then I need to hear this for myself and find out exactly what this man said, how he said it, what his whole position was, what agenda he's trying to promote throughout this, that would make this woman be so devastated that she would actually appeal to the very section of the populace that she herself admittedly despises. She calls them disgusting and despicable, and what were some of those other terms that she used to describe black men, or how black men don't step up to do whatever she believes they should be accountable to the black woman for, whatever stuff is. So I'm like, okay, if she's going to cry that rallying cry, to get white men, black men, and Asian men, and every other man in between to call this veganator out as the brutal, unrepentant, and rabid racist that he is, and how he just craps on black women, and he just tells black women to kill themselves because you're ugly and nobody wants you, and you're... Okay, I have to go to the source now. And lo and behold, what did I find? This man has posted multiple video responses explaining, number one, I didn't go to her, she came to me. Number two, she had an agenda she wanted to promote. I didn't take the bait, and I expressed my opinions, my preferences, and my whole perspective and views on the whole issue. They didn't gel with what she was hoping that I would say, so she felt betrayed and backstabbed. So now she's going to run off and try to make it seem like I'm the bad guy, I'm the villain, twirling this little handlebar mustache and saying, ha ha ha, gotcha, bitch, and just saying that, here's what I really feel about black women, and they're disgusting, and they're ugly, and they're horrible, and they're unrepentant, and yada yada. Oh my gosh, what did I do that for? Because now the truth comes out. Now I see what's really going on. Now I understand who really had the agenda and what agenda they were trying to push. And unfortunately, Christelyn Karazin is absolutely correct. This whole interaction she had with the veganator actually did add more fuel and more ammunition to the quote-unquote black woman bashers. But it wasn't the veganator who was supplying the fuel and the ammunition for the black woman bashers. It was Christelyn Karazin herself, because she lied on this man, tried to turn him into something that he was not, and in so doing, set it up for people like myself, or at least that would have been the preferable outcome, to come right out and say, hey, Christelyn, you're on some BS, and ... This is exactly what we're talking about. Black women disrespecting black men, so much so that they have an agenda that they will actually lie on a white man to try to deflect black men away from quote-unquote bashing black women in order to go after a white racist who black woman bashes. And he did nothing of the kind. Not one word came out of this man's mouth that could be equated to black woman bashing. There was nothing that even insinuated that he was involved in black woman bashing. And he even went so far as to explain that, look, I spent time living in the ghetto, I interacted with black women, I've dated black women, and oh, by the way, just to help back me up, as if I needed to present evidence in order to back me up, here's phone contact information where I was involved with a black woman on an intimate level, only to find out that she was already engaged to be married to somebody else, and here she is messing with me. And I'm like, oops, well, that doesn't look too good for black women right there. Because what's the thing that they're always saying? You're promiscuous as hell. You don't show no loyalty when you're not geared toward monogamy and everything. And he threw that out as like, look, here it is. Now what you got to say? That should have been the end all be all right there. That should have brought the entire discussion to the end. And everybody who's coming after Christelyn Karazin, as well they should, in my opinion, as well they should. However, they're coming after her for the wrong reason, because they're still dumping on her about you tried to go to your white knight and he turned around and handed your ass back to you when you thought you were going to get that. Okay, that's one aspect of it. But the real point that people should have been criticizing Christelyn Karazin over was the fact that she lied on a man. Sounds kind of familiar. I don't know. Kind of reminds me of fake rape claims. Hello? Anybody home? Yeah. So, next time one of these feminist dykes going to come out and talking about why would the woman lie? What reason does the woman have to lie? Well, there you go. Here's another example. They lie about rape. And in this instance, she was character raped, if you want to call it that, or at least that's the perception that she wants to present. That, she was so violated by this unscrupulous white man who just took advantage of her naivete. No. She understood and knew exactly what she was doing. She tried to set this man up and tried to bait him, and he ended up turning it around on her ass. She didn't know how to handle it. She didn't know how to back up out of it without showing the signs of ass burn. So she's got to concoct a story in order to get black women, who she's supposedly trying to promote into this whole swirling thing, new term I hadn't even heard of before, or heard it very vaguely from time and again, but now I'm hearing it so damn much I can't get it out of my head now. So she's talking to the black women who are on that kick, but also she's trying to appeal to the black men. Why did black men come out and defend black women? Number one, why would you want anybody who you made time and again clear that you have absolutely no respect for, why would you want them to come out and defend you? You would never come out to defend them, apparently. So what? Oh, that's right. I forgot. The woman owns the vagina, and whoever owns the vagina, you must kowtow to every little demand that the owner of the vagina makes because they're the owner of the vagina. It's an unwritten law that says thou shalt. So, excuse me for forgetting protocol there. But that's not even the issue that I wanted to address. The real issue I wanted to address revolving around this whole Karazin Vegematic thing that I really wanted to focus on, which I felt was important enough to cause me to break out of my void of silence and to just come out and share something. It all has to revolve around the lie that Karazin pretty much threw out there. And my problem is not so much with the lie that she told, even though, of course, I do have a major issue with that. I hate when a woman lies on a man. I mean, that is the absolute lowest of the low. Men are already vulnerable in this society as it is already. All it takes is one woman's accusation about anything, and a man's life can utterly be ruined. So I have absolutely no respect, none whatsoever, for any woman of any racial background who lies on a man, period. But be that as it may, the real issue that I have was spawned from that lie. And that is, with all these black people coming out of the woodwork, whether they're in support and defense of Christelyn Karazin, or whether they're standing up against her and putting her in check and saying, hey, it's time to take a red pill, the one thing that they all seem to share in common, with few exceptions, just in case anybody thinks I'm saying, oh, I never say, oh, because I'm not part of the, oh, police. So get that out of your head now. There are rare exceptions. But other than those rare few exceptions, the overall, from everybody that I've examined and listened to and their responses and their arguments and counter arguments in connection with this whole Karazin thing, they almost entirely all grabbed onto the same lie that Christelyn Karazin has thrown out there, saying that the Vegator is this white supremacist, white racist who's bashing black women. And the people defending Christelyn Karazin are coming out with their own vidcoms saying that, oh, this white racist and this white supremacist is coming out there and he's bashing black women and he hates black women and he hates black people and he's a racist. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's to be expected for Christelyn Karazin's defenders. But for the people who are coming out and saying, well, Christelyn Karazin, you just got your ass handed to you. You had an agenda. You thought you were playing somebody. And you ended up getting played in the long run by a racist, white redneck, white supremacist, black person hating. Wait a minute. Where did you come away with the idea that this Vegator was a racist and a supremacist? There's only one way you could have come away with that conclusion if you're commenting anything at all on this whole situation, and that is only if you never bothered to look at a single one of the video commentaries that was uploaded by the Vegator that is in relation to this Christelyn Karazin fiasco. That's the only way you can come to that assessment. So in actuality, that makes you no better than Christelyn Karazin's defenders. Don't you get it? If you're going to buy into the very lie that she promotes herself, that doesn't make you any more right. Think about it for a moment. Islam teaches that hell is this great, gigantic, endless, eternal realm of fire and boiling oil, and God's going to put you in this place where your skin gets seared off and melted off, and God, being all the loving and beneficent God that he is, he's going to, for eternity, replace all your burnt away skin with new skin so it can go through an endless Mobius strip cycle of being burnt and seared off and melted away and replaced, and burnt and seared off and melted away and replaced and burnt and melted off and re-seared away again, over and over and over again, just to show you how loving and how beneficent and merciful that Allah is. But guess what? The Hebrew and the Christian scriptures do not support the doctrine of hellfire. Never have, never will. This whole thing about the eternal lake of fire where you're going to be tormented and roasted and tortured forever and ever in the flames of hell, and repent now and get Jesus to save you from the flames of hell. It's not in the Bible anywhere. That's some fabricated, pagan, made-up garbage that somehow got attached to Judaism / Christianity, more so Christianity than Judaism, but even Judaism bought into the lie somewhat. And here comes Islam, which is supposed to restore the true gospel, don't you know? And yet the true gospel carries over the eternal hellfire and damnation teaching, which was never in the Bible to begin with. So you see, by claiming to be the restored religion, Islam showed itself to be just as corrupted as the religion that they claim that are corrupted. Because this religion they claim is corrupted, never supported, never taught, never even insinuated that hellfire and eternal torture and torment in the flames of hell is a reality to expect in the afterlife. The Bible never does it. Quran, however, plays that thing like a fiddle. So now, based on that information, could Islam possibly be the true restored religion and reclaiming what the lost religion that was corrupted before it? Not if it's teaching things from a previous religion that in all historical factual evidence shows that it never taught to begin with. So Islam has no basis and no validation and no support. If you want to base it on anything, you can just take that issue alone and say it fails the test of being the true gospel, as it were, or the restored gospel, as it were. That's the same scenario with this whole Christelyn Karazin situation. You let Christelyn Karazin throw out a soundbite calling somebody a racist, calling somebody a bigot, calling somebody a white supremacist, calling somebody a black woman basher, and before any of you took the first step to go back and go to the very source to find out for yourselves whether or not that her accusations were 100% on point, accurate, and true, you just swallowed the same garbage that she just fed you. So where the Veginator decided not to take Christelyn Karazin's bait, she threw a different kind of bait into your camp, and whether you supported her or whether and defended her, or whether you challenged her and shot her down, you're all equally guilty of swallowing that nasty, disgusting bait that she threw out in front of your lap, said, "Here, eat this, it's good for you." So you're all culpable in that. And this is my plea, as it's always been my plea. Black people, learn to stop being so damned emotional all the time. Put some Mr. Spock ears on, take your emotions out of the equations, and go do some research or do some fact checking. This is why people like Donald Trump, this is why he got the nomination for the Republican Party. Because we have sources like PolitiFact.com and FactCheck.org. And PolitiFact even more so, because it's part of the Tampa Bay Times, or whatever the name of the Tampa Bay newspaper is, the Tampa Bay whatever the heck it is. I don't know the official name of the Tampa Bay based newspaper, but they run and they actually operate PolitiFact, where if a politician says anything or makes any kind of claim, they'll examine it from a nonpartisan perspective, take the facts, the figures, all the implications and whatnot, and they'll come to an ultimate conclusion. True, mostly true, half true, mostly false, false, pants on fire, flip-flop, full flip. They supply you with the evidence or the ammunition to say, hey, wait a minute, what Donald Trump is saying, what Hillary Clinton is saying, or what Reince Priebus is saying, or what Bilderberg Bill Clinton is saying, or whatever Barack Obama is saying, or whatever John McCain or whoever, whatever claims that they're making, we've broken it down and we've separated the wheat from the chaff, as it were, and here's the nuggets and kernels of wheat/truth that you really want to focus on, yet you get egotistical, maniacal, bombastic hotheads like Donald Trump to win the Republican nomination for the presidency of the United States, the highest office in the country, where he has more power than pretty much any other man on the face of planet Earth. But that's because no one has a respect for the truth. Untruth, lies, innuendo, that's easy. That's too easy. So that's what we'd rather go with. The truth is hard. The truth requires taking steps and measuring things out and weighing things and backtracking and researching and following timelines and all that other stuff. It's work. Fact checking takes work. It takes time and it takes effort. And we as Americans, we hate doing that. And black folk especially lazy in that department. And here's proof positive right here. You let Christelyn Karazin dupe you. Even when you think you weren't duped and you're trying to, hey, you got punked by a white man. You little Miss Swirl, you know, yeah, he didn't go for it. But see, she threw something your way too. And whether this was her intention or not, of course it had to have been her intention. Why else would she say anything so patently false? So she knew what she was doing. But see, what she probably didn't know, not to say that she wasn't hoping for it, because there's no doubt in my mind she was hoping for it, but seeing how she's been the target of a lack of support from a certain segment of the black population, i.e. black men, that I'm certain she was not expecting that you were going to fall for the okie doke and take the bait that she was throwing out in front of your face. I honestly do not believe that she was expecting you to come and bite that baited hook and take the position that Vegematic was some sort of a blatant racist and white supremacist who was talking down on black people and on black women or whatever. And yet you fell for it. Thinking that you were smart, you proved yourselves stupid, just as she was hoping you would. And there you go. I don't have much more to say other than that, except to once again issue a plea, which I know is going to get ignored again because it always gets ignored. Black people, you can't help yourselves. But I'll throw it out there anyway, just in case that maybe, just this one time, I gave you enough of a kick in the seat to kind of shock you out of your apathy, just momentarily, that might actually get you to consider maybe. Just like, hey, the next time somebody throws some blanket statement about somebody and they tag racism onto it or they tag bigotry onto it, maybe I'll go do a little bit of research and check the source myself first before I make any opinion one way or the other. Maybe I've done that. I don't know. I doubt it. Very seriously, I doubt it. But what's that saying? Hope springs eternal. Because, as I said, until that day arrives when I can get black people to get off of this whole tripping mindset of letting emotions rule and guide and dictate every aspect of their damn lives, I will never be in your corner. I will be lone wolf of the black community or the black populace or whatever. Because I refuse to associate with idiots, with stupidity, and with just plain uncaring and unthinking. My time and my efforts are more valuable than to be getting behind some emotional BS garbage like this Thug Lives Matter or some aspect of, if we're not going to defend a black woman against a black woman basher, let's at least show her some support by saying, well, we ain't going to tolerate no racist, whether they're bashing black women or not, even though we are black women bashers ourselves. We can do it because we black, but see, when you're a white man, see, white people can't say nigga, so what makes you think that we going to let a white man bash one of our sisters, even if we don't accept her, even if we are bashing ourselves, even if we don't, you're not allowed to, that's territory that you are not allowed to cross over that line. No, go right ahead, buy into it. Eat that poison bait, if you will. But as I said, you'll be eating it without me. End of stinking line.